they said they would come out with a new story, and here we go. Here it is. So I'll leave you the link for that. You can read it and make sure you're not eating those fucking Cheerios. Have a nice day.
Hi everybody. Dr. Robert O. Young's research validated on the toxicity of Bt Roundup toxins from Monsanto's GMO corn juice, causing red blood cell damage. So the healthy red blood cells before the injection of the live juice from Monsanto's Bt Roundup GMO corn. The live blood 10 minutes after Dr. Young injected the live juice from Monsanto's Bt Roundup GMO corn. I am absolutely positive I have seen these various colored shapes in my Morgellons photos and also videos. Scientists discover Bt toxins found in Monsanto crops damage the red blood cells. The live red blood cell lysis with solidification of the Bt Roundup GMO corn juice after 30 minutes. And look how it solidifies right in the blood. Wow. Studies are showing that Bt toxins found in Monsanto crops are harmful to mammalian blood by damaging red blood cells and more. Red blood cells are responsible for delivering oxygen to the body tissues through blood flow. Bacillus thuringiensis, or Bt, is a bacterium commonly used as a biological pesticide. It is a microorganism that produces toxic chemicals. It occurs naturally in the environment and is usually isolated from soil, insects, and plant surfaces. Prior to this study, Bt was thought to be toxic only to insects, but recent studies are proving otherwise. Dr. Mezzomo and his team of scientists from the Department of Genetics and Morphology and the Institute of Biological Sciences at University of Brasilia recently published a study that involved Bacillus thuringiensis Bt toxin and its effects on mammalian blood. According to the study, the cry toxins that are found in Monsanto's GMO crops like corn and soy are much more toxic to mammals than previously thought. The study was published in the Journal of Hematology and Thromboembolic Diseases. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but we do not support animal testing and think it's unnecessary. It should really be a no-brainer that GMO crops cause significant damage to human health. Studies that don't require animal testing have already proven the dangers of GMO consumption. The study unfortunately required the use of Swiss albino mice if Bt was to be properly examined. At the same time, most of us know that the existence of GMOs is completely unnecessary. Advances in genetic engineering promise the expression of multiple cry toxins in Bt plants known as gene pyramiding. Therefore, studies on non-target species are requirements of international protocols to verify the adverse effects of these toxins, ensuring human and environmental biosafety. Due to its growing use in agricultural activities, Bt presence has already been detected in different environmental compartments such as soil and water. Consequently, the bioavailability of cry proteins has increased, and for biosafety reasons, their adverse effects might be studied mainly for non-target organisms. Studies are therefore needed to evaluate Bt toxicity to non-target organisms, the persistence of Bt toxin and its stability in aquatic environments, and the risk to humans and animals exposed to potentially toxic levels of Bt through their diet. Thus, we aimed to evaluate in Swiss albino mice the hematoxicity and genotoxicity of Bt spore crystals. Wow. Scientists tested levels ranging from 27 mg to 270 mg over a 7-day period. It was remarkably evident that the cryotoxins were hemotoxic even at the lowest doses administered. Hemotoxins destroy red blood cells, disrupt blood clotting, and cause organ degeneration and tissue damage. The number of RBCs, red blood cells, as well as their size, were significantly reduced, and so were the levels of hemoglobin for oxygen to attach to. Every factor regarding red blood cells indicated some level of damage for all levels of toxin administered and across all cryoproteins. The tests clearly demonstrated that cryoproteins resulting from the Bt toxin were cytotoxic, quality of being toxic to cells, to bone marrow cells. Studies continually show that these proteins kill blood cells by targeting the cell membranes of red blood cells. Wow. Cry1AB, the protein produced in common Bt corn and soy, included microcytic hypochromic anemia in mice, even at the lowest tested dose of 27 mg per kilogram, and this toxin has been detected in blood of non-pregnant women, pregnant women, and their fetuses in Canada, supposedly exposed through their diet. These data, as well as increased bioavailability of these MCA in the environment, reinforce the need for more research, especially given that little is known about spore crystals' adverse effects on non-target species. Dr. Mezzomo and his team are not the only group of scientists to discover harmful effects of Bt toxins. Professor Joe Cummins, Professor Emeritus of Genetics, the University of Western Ontario, has also studied it. 2, 3, 4, he concluded that there is sufficient evidence that the Bt toxin will impact directly on human health through damaging the ileum, which is the final section of the small intestine that is responsible for the absorption of vitamin B12. He also points out that the Bt cryotoxin gene has not been proven to be the same as the natural bacterial gene. As mentioned in the first paragraph, it occurs naturally in the environment, usually isolated from soil, insects, and plant surfaces. It seems that every day brings forth new information regarding GMOs. We have so much evidence that points to just how harmful these foods are, yet they continue to be mass-produced, and corporations that develop them are constantly protected. The truth still remains. You still have a choice as to what you put in your body, and they're encouraging everybody to read this, do further research. Okay.
The National Security Act of 1947, July 26, 1947. To promote the national security by providing for a Secretary of Defense, for a national military establishment, for a Department of the Army, a Department of the Navy, and a Department of the Air Force, and for the coordination of the activities of the national military establishment with other departments and agencies of the government concerned with national security. Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. This act may be cited as the National Security Act of 1947. Declaration of Policy. Section 2. In enacting this legislation, it is the intent of Congress to provide a comprehensive program for the future security of the United States Incorporated, to provide for the establishment of integrated policies and procedures for the departments, agencies, and functions of the government relating to the national security, to provide 3 military departments for the operation and administration of the Army, the Navy, including Naval Aviation, and the United States Incorporated Marine Corps, and the Air Force, with their assigned combat and service components, to provide for the authoritative coordination and unified direction under civilian control, but not to merge them, to provide for the effective strategic direction of the armed forces and for their operation under unified control and for their integration into an efficient team of land, naval, and air forces. Title I, Coordination for National Security. The National Security Council, Section 101. There is hereby established a council to be known as the National Security Council, hereinafter in this section referred to as the Council. The President of the United States shall preside over meetings of the Council, provided that in his absence he may designate a member of the Council to preside in his place. The function of the Council shall be to advise the President with respect to the integration of domestic, foreign, and military policies relating to the national security, so as to enable the military services and other departments and agencies of the government to cooperate more effectively in matters involving the national security. Council shall be composed of the President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, appointed under Section 202, the Secretary of the Army, referred to in Section 205, the Secretary of Navy, the Secretary of Air Force, appointed under Section 207, and the Chairman of National Security Resource Board, appointed under Section 103, and such of the following named officers as the President may designate from time to time: the Secretaries of the Executive Departments, the Chairman of the Munitions Board, appointed under Section 213, and the Chairman of the Research and Development Board, appointed under Section 214, but no such additional member shall be designated until the office, advice, and consent of the Senate has been given to the appointment to the office, the holding of which authorizes his designation as a member of the Council. In addition to performing such other function as the President may direct for the purpose of more effectively and coordinating the policies and functions of the departments and agencies of the government relating to the national security, it shall, subject to the direction of the President, be the duty of the Council to 1. To assess and appraise the objectives, commitments, and risks of the United States Incorporated in relation to our actual and potential military power, in the interest of national security, for the purpose of making recommendations to the President in connection therewith, and 2. To consider policies on matters of common interest to the departments and agencies of the government concerned with the national security, and to make recommendations to the President in connection therewith. The Council shall have a staff to be headed by a civilian executive secretary who shall be appointed by the President and who shall receive compensation at a rate of $10,000 a year. The executive secretary, subject to the direction of the Council, is hereby authorized, subject to the Civil Service Laws and the Classification Act of 1923, as amended, to appoint and fix the compensation of such personnel as may be necessary to perform such duties as may be prescribed by the Council in connection with the performance of its functions. The Council shall from time to time make such recommendations and such other reports to the President as it deems appropriate, or as the President may require. The Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, Section 102. A. There is hereby established under the National Security Council a Central Intelligence Agency with a Director of Central Intelligence who shall be the head thereof. The Director shall be appointed by the President by and with the advice and consent of the Senate from among the commissioned officers of the armed services or from among individuals in civilian life. From theguardian.com.